You've shown a documentary film at a Medicineless hospital. Could you tell us about what is revealed through the film about the power of the human heart? You were talking about the power of the human heart to affect healing. Could you talk about what's in this documentary film and also share your own personal experience of healing yourself?
Sure. Did you see that film by any chance?
I saw bits of it. I didn't see the whole film, but I've seen footage of it.
Okay, I have shown it's a film I showed for years and years all over the world in our live presentations, and I thought maybe you had been present one of those presentations. This it's a very powerful film. We're going to shift gears here. So knowing where we are in the cycles and knowing that our personal choices and our heart-based choices influence the way we experience the cycles. Now we can shift gears and look at some very personal experience. This film, for listeners that may not be familiar with what it is, it was recorded in a medicineless hospital in China in the 1990s. And the reason I share it is because it's a beautiful illustration. It's less than 3 minutes long. 2 minutes and 40 seconds long is how long this film is. And it's a film of a woman diagnosed with what Western doctors say is an inoperable medical condition. It's a tumor. They say that they cannot remove in her bladder. And she's gone to one of the medicineless clinics, which sounds like an oxymoron to us, a medicineless hospital. But she's gone to one of these clinics where practitioners are actually applying the principles that we're talking about right now. And through the magic of a sonogram, we can actually look into her body real time. It's not time-lapse, but this is a real-time image. And we can see that tumor respond to a condition that the practitioners are creating inside of their bodies. The practitioners have been trained to create a heart-based experience, and that experience, as we mentioned earlier, the heart is the strongest generator of electrical and magnetic signals in the human body. So the practitioners are creating a feeling in their body that is having an effect on the woman's body without ever physically touching her. And the effect is that her tumor disappears in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and we can see it happen with the sonogram. The question is, what are these practitioners doing? And the answer sounds so simple that a lot of people don't believe it. But what they're doing is they're making a subtle and simple shift from asking or praying for the tumor to disappear. They're not doing that. Because if they're asking or praying for it to disappear, they're acknowledging that it even exists. They're making a subtle shift. Rather than doing that, they are feeling the feelings of gratitude and appreciation and care as if the tumor no longer exists, as if the woman is already healed. She is fully enabled, fully capacitated. They're giving thanks of gratitude and appreciation for the condition as if it already exists. Now, this is a very subtle principle, but it's a powerful principle. Because if the feelings in our heart are triggering quantum effects in the world, and this is what the science is suggesting, then we have to ask ourselves, how do we turn those effects to serve us in our lives? And it makes perfect sense that you would feel the feeling of what you choose to experience so that those fields can respond and give you that experience. So they're feeling the feeling of gratitude and appreciation for the woman as if she's already healed. And in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, we see the response in the sonogram. And they do this all the time. They have a 95% success ratio after 5 years, or success rate, after 5 years of cancers from people that will follow this experience with life-affirming protocols that we already know. So diet, exercise, nutrition, breath, belief systems, all of those things. You can't, go back to an unhealthy lifestyle and expect that your body won't respond in some way. But this is, I wanted to answer the question. This is what I was showing in the film. And the only reason I was sharing it. It wasn't for people to rush to that clinic, because they don't have to. And number one. Number two, it doesn't exist any longer. Others do, but that particular clinic was shut down. But we don't have to go there. When we understand the principles, we can do this in our own lives. And that was the second part of the question. In the year 2000, after I had shown this film in audiences all over the world on giant screens and teletrons and huge audiences, I went to get my physical in the year 2000, and the doctor said, "You've got something in your bladder that shouldn't be there." And I thought, well, of course, I guess I've been looking at this thing all over the world day after day on these big screens, and I guess, that my feeling about what I was seeing triggered that reaction within my body. And he said, "It's got to come out." And I said, well, this is the opportunity for me to put into practice what I share with audiences all over the world. So I took 2 weeks. I didn't answer any phone calls, no emails. I didn't do any business, didn't travel, and really applied to myself what I've learned in the monasteries and what I've shared with audiences all over the world. But even then, I had my doubts because of our logical Western mind, our doubts and our fears. And I went to the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, and actually went under anesthesia into into the operating room, only to wake up an hour later with the doctor saying, "Why are you here? There's no reason for you to be here. There's nothing in your bladder, and there's nothing to operate on." And that experience for me, I'm shortening the whole experience in the interest of time, but that experience was the opportunity for me to put into practice for myself what I had been sharing with others, so that I could look at anyone, anywhere in the world, in the eye and say, I know that we have the ability to heal and to bring our bodies into balance and to transcend the conditions that threaten our lives. I know that we have that ability. So that's a kind of a long story and a long answer, but I wanted to share both of those before we get to the end of the program.
Yes. Well, you've been quoted as saying our heart locks matter and energy into place. So I think that's an example of...
I think it is. I think that's exactly
Yes.
what it is. What
Yes.
The scientific consensus right now is that we live in a quantum world where all possibilities exist as potential. So that means they're there floating around, but they haven't crystallized into anything real yet. And that what science says, in the language of science, it says observation affects the reality. They say that when we observe, this is what the experiments were showing back in the early 1900s, when we observe an electron, we change its behavior by observing it. Well, what the indigenous people say a little bit differently is that when we feel the feeling, what we do is we're collapsing all of those possibilities into one thing that's real. And it's our heart-based intent is how we claim that reality in our lives. So while it sounds technical, it's very simple. It means when we feel the feeling of the outcome as if it's already there, then that's what takes all of those possibilities and collapses them into one reality, and that's the reality that we experience, the reality of the healing. And if in our hearts we're uncertain, that uncertainty will reflect in our world as well. I think people find this when they're looking for their partners in life. If you're not certain on what it is that you are choosing to have in a life partner, what you'll do is you'll draw into your life people with all different qualities and values that are reflecting in real life the uncertainty that you're feeling in your heart. And this is an opportunity. It's like a feedback mechanism. Once we're really clear what we're looking for, that's pretty much what shows up in our lives.
Yes.
So just anecdotal kinds of information, but the science certainly is bearing this out.